For us, man, we just got to understand what Phil brings to the game. Whether he's on the bench, whether he's in the front office, his resume speaks for itself. His knowledge speaks for itself. So we just trying to be his students. We're trying to learn from him. But right now, we got basketball games to go out there and win, man. And when that time comes for, the field to get really in tune to what we have going on, we got to focus on these basketball games.
That was Carmelo Anthony after a very huge win for his New York Knickerbockers, who are fighting their way back to the playoffs, their 7th straight win. New York City kind of starting to get that flow back that they need to have right now. All eyes on New York City because Phil Jackson is now the president and he's running the ship. I'll throw this out to Huggy. Is this the biggest challenge of Phil Jackson's career? The Bulls, the Lakers, they had players.
I would definitely say yes. He's never came into a situation where it's,
Jordan-less and Kobe-less.
Kobe, yeah, there you go. He's come into situations that needed tweaking. He took over Del Harris with the Lakers, and
you already had Shaq
the pieces were there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So he brings in his piece, and it works. But right now, he's looking for pieces. You know what I mean. You got Carmelo, but
you're almost a coach, a GM, and 15 players away from where Phil wants to be right now, right, Dan?
There you go.
The Knicks, they have their issues, and it's a big challenge for Phil, especially in a job that he's never had before. But if I'm going to answer your question, is it the biggest challenge of his basketball career? I say no.
No.
Because to me, his biggest challenge was, hey, Mike, there's other guys here, okay? He had to convince Jordan. People forget.
Well, that's kind of playing to his strengths, no?
At this point, sure. But in those days when Michael Jordan was leading the league in scoring, he averaged 37.1 points a game, I think, in 1988. Right. But they weren't winning the championship yet. And Phil knew that the only way for Jordan to get to that championship level was he had to change a little bit as a player. And I think his biggest challenge in his career was going up on MJ and saying, Guy, I know how good you are, but you have to change it a little bit in order to play in this team concept. And once he was able to do that, that's when Phil became this Zen master.
All right, Ashley, Phil has come out in public and said that he is committing. He's willing to say that he's going to commit to Carmelo Anthony being in the future plans of the New York Knicks. We've heard rumors now that the Rockets and the Bulls are kind of the front runners courting Carmelo. Does Carmelo commit to Phil and the Lakers? Phil and the Knicks?
I think it definitely helps their cause to keep him around, because who wouldn't want to work with Phil Jackson, and who wouldn't want the lure of him will draw other free agents. And they do, their cap space is a bit limited.
But they're New York. They'll spend.
They will spend. And they do have some free agents to choose from this year. My personal favorite, Kevin Love. But just having Phil Jackson there.
He's going to LA.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I thought the same thing.
We'll see about that.
Okay.
But either way, Phil Jackson, for me, his biggest challenge isn't necessarily being the president. His biggest challenge is to trust someone to be the coach, because that's a role he's so comfortable in.
Thank you. So you lead into our next question now. We've heard Mike Woodson. Well, we've heard reports that Mike Woodson's already on the outs. We've heard reports that they're courting Steve Kerr as a potential head coach. Who ends up coaching the New York Knicks next year? Is it still Mike Woodson? Are you comfortable with that?
Mike Woodson is a very good coach, but I do think he's a guy who does a few years in one organization, then maybe has to move on. I don't know if I understand Kerr as the coach. Maybe makes more sense as the general manager.
Which he's done already.
He's done that already, and Phil's first pick maybe would be Mitch Kupchak, but I don't see him leaving the Lakers. I don't know, if I was picking a coach and I wanted to make a splash and I'm Phil Jackson, I'm getting one of the Van Gundy boys on the line. That's me.
That's a great call. All right.
Exactly what I was thinking.
That is a great call. But you know what? My only concern is that means that one of the Van Gundys may not be on TV anymore. And he is the best announcer, hands down. So let's get into it. The Knicks played the Pacers. Pacers, top dog in the East. They've lost 5 of their last 9 games. So I know everyone's focusing on the fact that the Knicks have won. As we see here, the highlights from last night. Carmelo isoed up against Paul George, slamming it home in the 4th quarter. But should we panic right now, Huggy, for the Pacers?
Not at all.
You should be playing your best basketball right about now, though. And they've added a lot of guys.
Well, I think right now, mentally, they're preparing for the playoffs. So, they're going to go through your little bumps, and take some bumps and bruises, but they're going to come out playoff time and they're going to be that number 1 seed, and they're going to prove it once again.
I'm kind of worried, actually, because, I like the fact that Roy Hibbert had become their center, but, you add Andrew Bynum, you add Evan Turner. roles are changing now. And do you see that as an impact on this team as they move forward? Because Miami seems to be kind of solidified in what they're doing.
Well, that's exactly the problem. That's why you've seen the bumps in the road. And I guess I will use Brooklyn as an example because they struggled mightily at the beginning of the season. But Garnett said it's going to take us time. Like, we're not going to be able to hit our stride. And now they're doing better. So I would say the same thing towards the Pacers. And one reason not to worry is because they're aware that they're not doing what they need to do. David West came out and he's like, our defense is slack. We're not doing what we need to do. Everyone needs to stop playing with this confidence that we're not living up to. We need to just get back to basics. So that's a reason not to worry.
Can I agree with our awesome panel here? Here, what you guys are saying is right. Indiana is going to be fine come playoff time. Miami's going to be fine. Here's what happened in the Eastern Conference. 2 horses ran away with the race early on. There was no question about it. There's no question about it now. And as Miami has kind of tailed off a little bit, Indiana also realizes, okay, we don't have to sprint to the finish here. We got first place. We're going to have home court. We're going to be fine in the playoffs. But the teams below them, 3 to 8, and even a little bit into 9, New York, they got into gear. And they're the teams that have been sprinting now, not necessarily trying to catch Indiana and Miami, but
Just
they're
to
the
get into the playoffs.
They
They
got to
gotta
get to
sprint.
the playoffs. They're jockeying for position. Everybody wants to avoid someone in the second round, home court in the first round. So that's why Indiana and Miami have kind of tailed off right now. The games just do not have the urgency to them. And you see in the East, these teams, everybody's winning every night right now. Brooklyn wins, the Raptors win.
You just
Charlotte
touched on the
wins.
Raptors. We got to talk about the Raptors when we return.
We got it. We have to.
All right. The Raptors, of course, against the Pelicans minus Anthony Davis, and the Raptors without some bodies too. We'll break that down when we return right here on Canada's favorite basketball show, The Hangout.